Students, in the series of lectures on parts of speech, I discussed two parts of speech, noun and pronoun, in my previous lecture, and today I am going to talk about verb and adverb. So let's see what is verb and what is adverb. First of all, we will discuss verb. A verb, as you know, is a major part of speech, and without it we cannot form any sentence, because there is always at least one verb in every sentence, and verbs usually go immediately after its subjects. So a verb describes what a person or thing does or what happens. For example, verbs describe an action like run, hit, travel. An event, rain, occur. A situation, be, seem, have. And a change, become, grow, develop. So all these examples are showing the different states of a verb. There are different types of verb. Stative and dynamic verbs. First of all, we will discuss this type of verbs. Verbs in English can be classified into two categories: stative verbs and dynamic verbs. So stative verbs usually refer to a state or condition which is not changing or likely to change. The difference is important because stative verbs cannot normally be used in the continuous form like be and ing. This will explain the difference between the two types of verbs and give lots of examples of each kind. And what are dynamic verbs? Dynamic verbs usually describe actions we can take or things that happen. There are many types of dynamic verbs, but most of them describe activities or events which can begin or finish. Here are some examples for you. For example, here is a verb play. Play. So this word is showing an activity. Let's see with an example. She plays tennis every day and she is playing tennis right now. So both of these sentences are showing activity. Here it is showing activity in a present tense, and here it is showing activity in a continuous form. Next, melt, process. The snow melts every spring. So this word is also showing an activity. The next example is hit. Hit is showing momentary action. For example, when one boxer is hitting another, brain damage can result. Dynamic verbs can be used in the simple and perfect forms like plays, played, has played, had played, as well as in continuous or progressive form like is playing, was playing, has been playing, had been playing. So dynamic verbs can be used in different form of the tenses. Let's see what are stative verbs. Stative verbs usually refer to a state or condition which is quite static or unchanging. They can be divided into verbs of perception or cognition, which refer to things in the mind, or verbs of relation, which describe the relationships between things. So we can say that these are the types of verbs for which we only have a mental image in our mind. Let's see some examples. Here is a word hate. Hate is a verb. It means that some sort of we have some sort of perception in our mind. I hate chocolate. Believe is also showing some sort of perception. She believes in Allah. Contain is showing the relation. The box contains 24 cans of soda. Own, the verb own is also showing some sort of relation. He owns 3 motorbikes. And from these words you can notice that these forms cannot be used in a continuous form. So the main difference between stative and dynamic verbs is that dynamic verbs are used in different forms of the tenses, whereas stative verbs cannot be used in a continuous form. Here are some other examples of stative and dynamic verbs, so you might have clear idea about these two types of verbs. The examples of stative verbs are love, hate, like, see, hear, sound, think, mind, recognize, seem, have, prefer, doubt, consist of. And the examples of dynamic verbs are eat, drink, go, type, read, write, listen, speak, watch, say, grow, work, sleep, cook, and talk. The other type of verb is called transitive and intransitive verbs. A transitive verb is one that is used with an object, a noun phrase or pronoun, that refers to the person or thing that is affected by the action of the verb. In the following sentences, admire, maintain, face, and love are transitive verbs. Let's see how these verbs are used in a sentences. I admire your courage. We need to maintain product quality. I couldn't say him today. She loves animals. So from these examples you can see that all these verbs are followed by noun or pronoun or noun phrases. Some transitive verbs can be used with a direct object and an indirect object as well. How these are used with the direct object and indirect object, let's see with examples. For example, Mary brought her a glass of water. Here her is used as an indirect object and a glass of water is used as a direct object. He sent her a letter. Here her is an indirect object and a letter is a direct object. Now, what is intransitive verb? An intransitive verb doesn't have an object. In the following sentences, cry, work, laugh, and talk are intransitive verbs. The baby was crying. The boy is playing. So from these examples you can see that these verbs, cry and play, that are used in a continuous form are not followed by any type of noun, pronoun or object. So we can say that without any object a sentence is called intransitive sentence or intransitive verbs because they don't have any object. So we can say that the main difference between transitive and intransitive verbs is that transitive verbs are followed by objects, noun or pronoun, whereas intransitive verbs don't have any object. The next type of verb is called finite and non-finite verbs. Finite verbs which have a subject and shows tense. Every sentence needs finite verb. For example, he is writing. And what are non-finite verbs? Are verbs that don't describe a verb, not showing tense, or verbs which are not acting like a verb. So finite verb will be the verb that shows tense. Here in these examples you can see that he is writing. This sentence is showing that some sort of action is happening in the continuous form. So non-finite verbs don't show any tense. Let's see with there are three types of non-finite verbs. They are called as gerunds, participles, and infinitives. Let's see what is gerund. Gerund is actually a form of verb which ends in ing and has a function of a noun. For example, painting and writing. Actually, these are two verbs, paint and write. But when we place ing with both of these verbs, they become as a noun, and they are functioning here as a noun. Participle. The next type of non-finite verb is called participles. Participles are further divided into two kinds, present participle and past participle. Participle actually is a verb form used as an adjective to modify a noun and pronoun, and all present participles end in ing. For example, the laughing lady, the falling temperature. Here, laugh and fall are the verbs, and by placing ing, they are functioning as a noun, and they are modifying their nouns. Laughing lady, the falling temperature. Next, what is past participle? All regular verbs end in ed. For example, tired, tired, the injured, injured. Here the main verbs are tire and injure, but when we have placed ed with these verbs, they are acting as an adjective. Tired dancer, the injured player. Infinitives. The basic form of a verb is known as infinitive. It's often preceded by the word to. He decided to follow him. He began to run back. And notice one thing, that when we use to before any verb, we are not supposed to change the form of verb. Now there is another type of verb that is called active and passive verbs. Depending on the way in which you use a word in a sentence, a verb can be either active or passive. When the verb is active, the subject of the verb is doing the action. For example, Ali eats mangoes. Here Ali is acting as subject, eats is an active verb, and mangoes is object or noun. When the verb is passive, the subject undergoes the action rather than doing it. As you can see in these examples, mangoes are eaten by Ali, and when the verb is passive, then its subject becomes the object. Its subject becomes the subject. Like mangoes are eaten by Ali, and here you can see eaten is used as a passive verb, and passive verbs are also, always used in third form of the verb. Next type of verb is called auxiliary verbs. Auxiliary verbs help to form the various tenses, moods, and voices of other verbs. The principal ones are be, do, and have. They are also called helping verbs. Another type of verb is called modal verbs, and it falls under the category of helping or auxiliary verbs. There is a further set of auxiliary verbs that are known as modal verbs and modal auxiliary verbs. So modal verbs combine with with other verbs, express necessity, possibility, intention, or ability. The modal auxiliary verbs are must, shall, will, should, would, ought, can, could, may, and might. Next type of verb is called phrasal verbs. Phrasal verb is a verb that is made up of a main verb together with an adverb or a preposition or both. Typically, their meaning is not obvious from the meaning of the individual words themselves. For example, she has always looked down on me, and malaria has broken out in the city. The next type of verb is called regular and irregular verbs. An English verb can be regular or irregular. Regular verbs form their past and past participle forms by adding ed. For example, walk, walked, walked, paint, painted, painted, work, worked, worked. So the verbs which have the same second and third form of the verb are called regular verbs. And what are irregular verbs? They form their past and past participles forms in different ways. There are mainly three types of irregular verbs. The first type is put. Here you can see that they have all the three forms same. So the verbs which have the three same form are called irregular verbs. It is fall under the first category, and the second category of irregular verbs are those which two form of verbs remains the same. For example, sit, sat. Here you can see that second and third form of this verb is the same. The third category of the irregular verbs are those which have all the three forms in a different way. For example, drink, drank, drunk. So from this example you can see that all the three forms of the verbs are different. So the main difference in regular and irregular verbs is that the three forms of the regular verbs remains the same. The second and third form of the regular verbs remains the same, and irregular verbs have different forms, and these are falls under the category of three types. Some verbs can be both regular and irregular. For example, burn, burnt, burnt, burned, burned, burned. So you can see that here this is one word, burn and burn, but this verb is used as an irregular verb as well, and also used in a regular way as well. Next example is dream, dreamt, dreamt, dream, dreamed, dreamed. So this verb dream is also used as a regular and irregular verb. When we are using verb in a sentence, term we use is inflection. Actually, inflection is the grammatical term for letters added to nouns, adjectives and verbs to show their different grammatical forms, and in the context of verbs we use the term inflection to talk about the process of changing a verb form to show tense, mood and the form of the verb that shows the mode or manner in which a thought is expressed. The fourth part of speech is called adverb. An adverb is a word which we use to modify the meaning of adjective, verb and other parts of speech. It is one of the part of speech which tells us when, where, how and in what manner and to what extent an action is performed in the sentence. Some of the adverbs end with ly, which are used to express how an action is performed, such as carefully, gracefully, etc. And however, some are without ly, such as well, very, fast, never, no, most, far, least, more, less, there, etc. Let's see with examples how adverb is used. She was singing beautifully at a concert last Sunday. Here, different types of adverb are used in this sentence. You can see beautifully. Beautifully is an adverb of manner, and concert is an adverb of place, and last is showing the time, so it would be called as an adverb of time. Now we will discuss different types of adverb. Different kinds of adverbs expressing different meaning are described for you with proper definitions and examples. Adverb of time. What is adverb of time? Adverb of time is an adverb which tells us about time of happenings or time of something is done in the sentence. Adverbs of time are used in the beginning as a form of emphasis or at the end of the sentence. Adverbs of time are like already, afterwards, immediately, always, last month, soon, then, now, and yesterday. For example, he admitted to hospital and died yesterday. My factory caught fire and burned down in the last month. I have completed my homework already. Outside, there, over there, under, and upstairs. For example, we need to stop here for dinner. He was eating under the table. Birds fly above in the sky. So all these adverbs are showing some sort of place. Adverb of manner. Adverb of manner is an adverb which tells us about manner of how something is done or happens in the sentence. Such type of adverbs are generally end with ly, such as cheerfully, badly, quickly, happily, angrily, sadly, and slowly. However, some are simple like fast, well, and hard. How we can use adverb of manner in a sentence? Let's see with examples. I went to school cheerfully. He runs fast. We celebrated Teachers' Day happily. Adverb of degree or quantity. The fourth type of adverb is adverb of degree or quantity, and this adverb tells us about the level or extent of something is done or happens in the sentence. It is used before the adjective or adverb. Adverb of degrees or quantity are like almost, nearly, quite, much, really, too, very, and so. So these examples are showing some sort of quantity or degree. For example, it was too hard task for us to complete. Here too is adverb of degree. I am feeling really sad for my friend's father's death. So really is also used as an adverb of degree. The next type of adverb is called adverb of number. The next type of adverb is called adverb of number. Adverb of number is used to show number of action of the verb in a sentence. Adverb of numbers are like firstly, secondly, once, yearly, never, twice, lastly, etc. For example, I eat food twice a day. In this sentence, twice is an adverb of number. Similarly, he saw me once. Here, once is used as an adverb of number. So it was all about verb and adverb. In next lecture, I will discuss about adjective and conjunction. So keep watching this channel. Thanks.